Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the zoning and planning board meeting. Would everyone please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. June, may we have roll call, please?
Andy?
Yes.
Richard Dickinson?
Here.
Debbie Cushing? Here. Scott Chowski?
Here.
Ron Fuller?
Here.
Joseph Walkerly?
Here.
Paul Daly's excused. John Ranieri?
Here.
Mayor Kapadas? The excused?
I have not talked to him today. There he is.
There he is.
Mayor, do I have time to go get papers out of my office?
You're here. Yes,
I'm
you do.
here.
Yes, sir.
Dennis Vanella?
Here.
Larry Stone?
Here.
David Rowan?
Here.
Mr. Bennett is excused.
And Keith Mike.
Here.
Thank you very much. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meeting Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner: posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office, emailed to the retrospect and the Courier Post. First order of business would be to accept the minutes of the July meeting, as we did not have a meeting in August. There was no new applications or new business, so the meeting was canceled. So is there a motion to accept the minutes of the July meeting, please?
Make a motion.
Mr. Ockerly?
Second.
Mrs. Fusion, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We have no new business tonight. And I don't believe we have any old business tonight that I am aware of. Just be sure. No, we do not. Okay. We're going to just move on to, well, we have some people in the audience, and we have a couple of things that we want to talk about housekeeping wise, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to good and welfare, just so if these fine folks don't want to hang around for all of our convincing, they don't have to. I want to open the public portion of the meeting. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter at all, please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and be heard, please.
How you doing, Mike?
Well, thank you. How are you?
My name is Ken Arnold. I was here a couple of months ago, I applied for a permit to move my fence back. It was approved. I spent over $1,000 doing it. I think he's kind of familiar with it. I got a letter in the mail saying I had to remove it.
Yep.
I just want to say, is there any way that I can just leave it there?
No, it's on borough property. We talked about that.
Okay, now, so, because I have estimates to remove it that I'd like to give it to you.
For what?
That I have a legal permit, so I could put it there, so I have.
That you couldn't have gotten a permit, sir, there's no permit to be gotten to put a fence on
Then why did
property
you approve a
that's
permit?
not yours.
I don't understand. I don't understand how it was approved.
Well, Mr. Roman reviewed everything.
The mayor at my house admitted that it was the borough's mistake. When he
Admitted what?
came out.
Hold on a second.
He admitted to me that it was the borough's.
No. Let's be clear. I went out there and it was pretty obvious that the fence that you put out was not in line with the other fence.
Right.
I believe that the application was not conclusive exactly where the location of the fence was. One of the problems that we're trying to do a better job is making sure people submit a survey that shows the actual meets and bounds. Now, there's an interesting point about this whole thing. Most of the fences that are on your street right now are not they are not even on the homeowner's properties, right? We've established that people actually infringe on ground that wasn't theirs. I feel for you, we know each other, and I do feel for you, but I understand the situation here where the application said that you were basically replacing an existing fence, you were allowed to do it, but I think when the construction official and zoning officer went out there, noticed that it wasn't in line with the other fences, so it made it very obvious that it wasn't on your property. I think when we asked you to show that it was your property, it wasn't your property.
I drew right on that, when you submit the survey, you know where you're putting it in. And I went there and I spoke to Mr. Knight, and I said, I want to put it all the way back to the street. He got everything out and said, yes, I can do that.
If it was your property, I don't think he was clear that it wasn't your
He
property.
told me it was, because I had the plat map. I asked him, is this my property? Because it said on lot 3 on the which I had lot 3 on the back of the survey, and he looked it up, and he said, yes, it is, I can include
I
it.
can't speak exactly for Mr. Knight, but I do know that he had said to me that he went out there and he measured from the front of your property 150 feet back.
Oh, I
And when he
was able to
measured the
do that.
150 feet, it was a good
Right,
15 or 16 feet shorter than what even the other fences were.
right.
And my attitude, I said about the other fences were, once again, it's a pre-existing non-conforming or a pre-existing condition, not much we can do, but once you change it, that was the problem. I mean, I understand that you're trying to gain a few more feet back out there, but I don't know if you can gain the feet at the expense of the right-of-way of the borough, and I would hope the solicitor could help it out a little bit with that. You know, I don't disagree with you, I know it's an inconvenience, I know it's terrible, I personally went out there, you know, I did to come out and look at it and see what we could do. And I saw you built it great, you built a very strong and sturdy fence. But I don't know how we can legally allow someone, once again, I'm not an attorney, but that's why this board has to defer to the law.
Well, it's part of the process when you submit the thing to make sure that I'm doing the right thing.
Yes.
Isn't that part of, so what's the mistake in that not denying my permit, which should have happened?
I think, I can't explain it, maybe Mr. Knight can do it in more detail, but from what I understand, because we've looked into this, was that the application was not as clear as it should have been. It should, you know, right now, I think we're gonna have to hold people to a higher standard to prove that they have a legal survey that shows exactly where the meets and bounds are, so that we do a better job. You're not the first person that we've had fence issues in this community, you know that, we've had our problems with fences, we've had problems with other things. One of the problems is trying to do the right thing, it's difficult, it's really difficult.
I mean, but I actually physically went there and said, can I do this?
I understand.
Survey, looked at the plat map, said yes.
Yes, and I think that,
I mean, it's gonna cost me at least $500 for a dumpster, you can't take that apart. It's gotta be chopped apart and thrown in the trash.
Can't you take that fence and move it back to your property?
the way he installed it, he didn't use screws.
This
He
is what,
used,
I never wanted to repair, so this is what it's in with. And you can't pull them out. Not those, I mean, it's just, it's impossible to take it apart. You can't,
bad
they
situation.
screw in, you can't pull them out.
Okay, but so when you made your application to Keith, did you provide him with a survey?
Yes, and I drew on the survey where I was putting the fence,
Okay,
all
so-
the way to the back of the property.
You measured?
On your survey, did it show, at the back line of your survey, did you show you were putting the fence beyond that?
Yes.
I don't think that the survey was clear where the actual property line was. I think if Mr. Knight would have saw
Do you have, yeah,
the
because.
dotted line
Oh,
of
he
the property
wouldn't.
line.
I
I know
submitted
you.
it, you guys.
No, I'm just saying it, it sounds to me, on the rear property line, are there any markers or
Let me
cut
show you
crosses
what-
or anything?
Why I had a question, I have a survey here
It's the
somewhere.
right of way of the street.
Let me track right here.
The sidewalk there, if you like.
Did you have an existing fence before you put this?
That's what I wanted to do in the back of the further, because I get bottles, glass, trash all over.
Was the existing-
I'm fed up with it for 14 years.
Was the existing fence on your property line?
I think
No, it was not.
12 feet.
That was over Toby?
And to tell you, it's one of those, it's a can of worms. You open it up and now we
Oh,
notice,
I've dealt with it.
now we notice that all the fences have encroached on property that's not their own. So if someone were doing a survey, it would show it.
This is where, if I can, it says, see, this is my fence here, but beyond that, it says part of lot 3. I have lot 3, so I came to the borough saying, do I
Yeah,
own
but that
this?
don't, just because it says it, it's
Well, that's
not
why I came
encumbered.
here, and I was told, yes, I can move it back.
Well, then there was some miscommunication, that's just my.
Is it part of
But
what
your
you're saying?
solid line, turn the page,
That's
yeah,
where the fence is,
that's
yeah.
where your back property line is. So anything above, beyond that doesn't include your
Well,
property.
that's why I came, I actually came here, because it's beyond that, it says part of lot 3, I have lot 3, so I said, can I move it back? He looked at
Okay.
it, and then when I drew where I was putting the fence back here, and I said, he got it at the plat map, and he looked it all up, he goes, yes, there's no easements, there's no right of way, that is your property, you can put the fence there, it's gotta be 2 feet from the.
Someone said that was your property?
What's that?
Someone said that was your
Mr.
property?
Knight did, he got it at the plat map.
Okay.
The plan map is the meets and
Right, it's not, it's not a
That's
tax.
not
Not-
distinct
not
as
tax.
far as the
Right.
survey.
The long and short of it is, the only thing that this board can do is exercise the law. We have no purview to change the laws. That's why Mr. Rowan looked into it for you, and Mr. Rowan would defer to you
Yeah,
I know you explained it once, but I'm going to ask you
They
to
sent
explain
me
it
the
again.
survey,
Right.
and it was clear that even the original fence that was there was beyond the property line.
Right.
And, you know, I don't know what the confusion was regarding part of lot 3. A tax map is not an official map.
Right.
That's
So why did you get it out?
just an elevation map. You don't know. You gave a survey that you had a drawing on there that said part of.
Well, that's
part of
the
lot
survey
3.
I was given when I moved
Yeah.
down, so I'm just going by that.
Your survey is clear of where your property line is.
Right.
It's clear.
Well, you pay for the survey, or you're supposed to, you know, look up, make sure what I'm doing. What if I build a house? What if I had a foundation? God knows what. I was gonna build a pool in there.
First of all, you're not getting that close to the back property.
I know, I'm just,
But you use that scenario.
Excuse me, can I?
Sure.
I just have some questions.
What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Roberta Arnold,
Thank you.
and, he wanted to put the fence up, he took the survey down to Mr. Knight, and we have a plat map, and based on that, and Mr. Knight telling him, as long as you're 2 feet away from the curb, you're fine putting the fence there. He doesn't know how to read surveys. You're relying on the official to give you a permit, it was approved, and that's why it was put up. 2 months later, we get told we have to take it down. Stop putting it up and take it down. I don't understand the reasoning behind that. First of all, nobody knew who owned the property at that point, as far as I got from the last meeting. I gave, I'm sorry, Mr. Rowan, my legal description and the survey. And I knew that it did, because the day before I called the surveyor and I said, hey, you know, I have the survey here, can you tell me? And he said, no, we don't know who owns that property, which is exactly what Mr. Rowan said. Then we get in the mail, you know, that you have to remove the fence. It is a hardship on us. We came down here in good faith and got the permit. Miscommunication, mistake, whatever it was. I don't think that we should have to take the fence down and remove it and have to pay all this money. I mean, he worked hard doing it, and I understand that, and I really don't understand his frustration. I just don't understand if it's not anything that's going to be detrimental to the borough by leaving the fence there, why it can't be left there. Is it going to be developed in the future?
I think the problem is there's no way to know all that. You know, right now, we have established a line in the back, even though we might all agree that those fences are not on the property properly anyway.
Right.
I think that, like you said, if you just replaced the fence where it was, I think it would have been, you know, like you said, there's no markers out there showing exactly where your 150 feet are. We do rely on surveys to say that, you know, this is where your property is, and we expect due diligence on the part of whoever's installing something to make sure it's on the property. I guess what you're asking is that you have a hardship here, and there is some, you know, is there some liability on the borough's part? What are you asking to move the fence back? And I know you put it up yourself personally, so I know you didn't have a contractor install it, so
No.
what are you asking?
I mean, the fence cost me $1,100, and I'm gonna have to get a dumpster, cut it all apart.
You can't save the fence.
Absolutely not. I mean, someone can come out and look at it. I've had 5 contractors come out there, fence guys,
And they gave us an
It's
estimate
impossible.
for
It's just the name.
$5,000 to remove it.
and install a new one.
put
Well,
it
the only thing I can
in
offer you,
compliance.
I can't offer you to reimburse you for the fence, but I can offer you to have the fence removed.
Better
No
enough,
choice. I'll have the public works department remove it.
I mean, they're 2 foot deep, almost 2 bags, 80
We have
pound
that.
bags, so I
And
hand
the
up.
backhoe, and we have guys, and, you know, we'll take it, unless Mr. Knight doesn't agree with me on this, or.
Oh, no, I did.
I mean, I'm trying to remedy this
Well, I
situation. I don't know if
clarify,
council or the planning board has an
if I
issue.
could clarify one point, I think Mr. Arnold is mistaken,
No.
and sometimes people mistake a permit for a certificate of approval. A permit allows you to proceed with the work. It doesn't allow you to have completion until you get a certificate of approval. I issued a permit for the installation of the fence.
Okay.
Now, if you recall, Mr. Arnold, when you began constructing the fence, you recall me meeting with you and advising you to cease excuse me.
90% done. Yeah.
Mr. Arnold, please. You remember me advising you to cease construction of it? That if there was a chance, because you indicated you want to come to the board, and as you said to me, so there is a chance they'll make me take it down. I said, absolutely.
Yes.
So I suggest you cease construction. I did say that to you. And sir, did you continue with the construction after I said so?
Yes, I did. I had part of one section left to do, so I just finished it, it looked like crap. But you came to me, it was a month and a half after I started the fence. It was June.
I can
Look at the
provide-
date, you can look at the date of the permit, and then look at.
How did you realize that the fence wasn't in the right spot?
Well, there was issues with it being
Did somebody call and complain?
Yeah, there was complaints about where it was being installed, and I saw where it was installed, and that's when I went out there and said, well, let's take a measurement of your property, of what we
That's
have.
what triggered it.
And that's what I said,
Yeah, I
again,
apologize, I never drive down that road, it's a little tiny road
Yeah,
behind your house.
hardly anybody drives.
see, when we issue a permit is for you to proceed with the work. It is not a certificate of approval. And when you issue a fence permit, it's your obligation to install within the boundaries of your property lines. And the subsequent inspection revealed that it wasn't, and at that time, I advised him to cease the construction. And again, he continued to, which I know he indicated to me that he was, hoping that the board would be, sympathetic.
Do you have any problems with what I've suggested?
Oh, yes, I understand it's a hardship for them, we're at where we're at, whatever we can do to help, alleviate the situation.
The fence was not over 90%, I had one section.
I was there, I visited you.
Done. It's over with.
I was there.
It's
I
got-
don't want to say I put
it's
3/4 of the fence anywhere, but that wasn't the case.
Does council, do you have any opinion on this? Is this the wrong move in our part?
No, I mean, it's clear you can't build a fence somebody else's property.
See,
I mean, I believe in being neighborly, and even as a government, we should be neighborly if there's a problem.
Right, and
and
if there was an error,
miscommunication.
I don't think it was an intentional error, if it was.
Well, neither
But,
party.
but the survey controls,
Yes, it
that's
does.
that's what controls, that's what a court of law would say, the survey controls.
Is that your-
If there was misinterpretation
No, my,
of that without, a negligent misrepresentation, no, there would be no action against the borough, it's not unfortunate.
I think it's upon us as to make the property owner, have him provide to us the markings for the back where he wants to put it. Anybody can show a sealed survey, but distance-wise, we don't know without any markers there. I mean, Mr. Arnold, you knew that you were going beyond your property line.
I didn't know. Because beyond my property line, the service is part of lot 3.
Right.
He said-
I didn't have to-
and somebody-
That's why I came to the borough saying, is this my land, can I
But
move my
when you,
fence back?
when you called the surveyor, did
It
he
was the
say?
day before.
Right, that was
That's
once-
when we knew.
All right,
That
that's
was months
fine.
afterwards.
All right, well then.
I had nothing to do with the fence until.
That's fine.
Way to step back.
But I think the survey was clear, the property lines were clearly
Yeah.
delineated. And it matched the deed, it matched the
He didn't
precise
have to
the
read, but
deed.
he doesn't know how to read,
Right.
so that's why he came here, and that's where the whole thing.
It looks like it was a compound mistake.
It was,
On
yeah.
both sides, and it's
But
unfortunate.
like Keith said, they issue a permit that just gives you the right to start, that don't give you final approval.
All right, does anybody else on the board have any questions? I mean, I have no problem with, obviously what Mayor has put forth, I think is generous on the part of the borough, and hopefully,
Yeah, thank you.
hopefully it's okay with you guys. Again, we are sorry if you had any problems, and we'll try to alleviate that in the future. Anybody else have anything to add, or?
So going forward, you're gonna construct the same type of fence?
I'm
along the
not
line?
doing.
Or what are you gonna do? You're not gonna do it?
No, it's just.
So you still had the existing fence up, right?
There's a
Yeah,
section
I have
of
dogs, I
fence.
couldn't take
Well,
dogs.
You didn't take the other one down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't remove the other one.
Oh, okay, so that's.
Yeah, that was
And
kind of
that-
the other
that's
fence.
all borough.
Yeah.
But you're just, so that.
Sleeping dogs.
Sleeping dogs on the chain link fence.
What, the wood?
Yeah.
Trash.
Trash, that's all made clear, you don't want
Just
to.
give me, try to give me a day or a couple of days to, I got some plant hangers on the.
I know you- I saw you.
Down.
You want to take those brackets down, the other brackets?
Yeah, cut my losses.
Yeah, when it comes down, if the posts come out okay, you want to keep the posts, I
No.
mean, I don't think there's any issue with that. No?
And just as another point, so we can clarify, the front fence, which is permissible,
I'm gonna cut them down.
you're gonna drop the post below the
Yes.
6 feet.
Yeah.
Because the posts in the front exceed the 6 feet.
And they're beyond the front yard?
No, the fence is in the correct position, but the posts, with the addition of the posts not being cut down to the level of fence, they exceed the ordinance
Oh, they exceed
of
6
being
feet.
6
I
feet.
I put them the same in the back of the plant hanger and
I have a
I'll cut
question.
them down.
Does have, how far are the ones with little fences?
About 8 feet also.
Yeah, you can't
Well, I have a old stained glass window that I want to have
Yeah, unfortunately, any fence it cannot exceed 6
Okay.
feet.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
Can you just leave Mr. Knight your phone number, because I'll have the public works guys call before we come out there.
All right.
If you want anything.
I'll get it done over by Monday.
Government doesn't move that fast.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in the public portion of the meeting?
Hearing none, seeing none, I'll move to close.
Second? Mr. Dickinson, second, Mr. Pachowski, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
All right, we have one thing that we wanted to talk about tonight that we wanted to get everybody's input on. We've had a number of people come to Joyce with a proposal to bring a tattoo studio into town. We did have one gentleman here about 3 or 4 months ago as an informal. He came in and just chatted with us. We all know that that is pretty much under the purview of the county health department. We do have a couple of ordinances that you should all have in front of you that we have in place that I'm going to defer to Mr. Rowan and let him speak upon it. But in speaking to Mr. Rowan and Mayor Kapadas, I'm not really sure that we're able to really restrict it in the way that these ordinances lay out. Mr. Rowan?
Yeah, I think our tattoo ordinance, it's chapter 341, lays out what our local requirements are regarding what an applicant has to do. He has to be licensed, and apparently the licensing process is through the county health department. And we do, it appears to parody some of the requirements
So
of the
there's
health
an annual
department.
municipal license also.
Yeah, but that's once you're here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's once you're here. But they also parody I think the state and the county requirements of how to dispose of materials and, because although I've never had any body art, when they tattoo, sometimes there's bleeding and they wipe it down and they have to dispose of it in a certain way. The problem is that some of the applicants have been referred to chapter 252 of our ordinance regarding needles, knives, and scalpels, which essentially it has been interpreted that in order to have a tattoo art establishment, it has to be either supervised with somebody that's licensed in the medical field.
Do you want to talk into the microphone, Dave, so that the audience can hear?
Need something, sir?
He's trying to hear. Mike, we're gonna have him talking to the ordinance.
Okay, and it would appear that
You gotta talk a little louder.
that ordinance, why don't you come up here and bring your seat up?
Can't, they're all wired.
Yeah, they're all locked
They're
together.
all wired.
Oh, they're locked together. And that would essentially prohibit the establishment of a tattooing business.
Well, that's how it's been interpreted for the past.
40
I don't,
years.
think-
Well, since 98.
in my opinion, if the licensing procedure for a business or an occupation is under the purview of the state or the county, I don't believe a local municipality is given the authority to make that licensing requirement more onerous than what the county provides.
I think it's the same as a daycare center.
And I've never been into one, I don't know when you go in if they have a certificate from the county, or if there's a licensing that you get from the county, or if there's courses or whatever that you have to take. I believe there are, but I'm not real familiar with it. I don't think I don't think this ordinance 252 could be used not to permit it. Dave Thatcher called me because he had an applicant who was going to come in, and Dave was of the same opinion. I read it, I said, Dave, I kind of agree with you. He doesn't want to bring a suit or anything, but I've checked with some other towns. Dave Carter is the solicitor for Gloucester Township, and they don't, he said, yeah, he never heard of that, where it requires a medical specialist that I don't believe it does. Body piercing, I know our ordinance exempts piercing of ears. there's a lot of advanced piercing now, stomach, tongue, you know. I mean,
Easy.
but now maybe that, I don't know, maybe that, I don't know how that's regulated by the state.
Did you talk to Len Wood about this?
Yeah, just a little backstory. Obviously, this ordinance was passed in 1998. From what I hear, there were some fears among the elected officials at the time that this would encourage a business that may not be accepted in the community and trying to maintain a standard. I know that other municipalities do their best to prohibit these type of establishments. Some municipalities have done it by zoning, by regulating the areas where they could be. As those of you here know, we only have 6, I think, or 7 zones in our community, where a town like Gloucester Township had, I think, 27 zones and things like that. So they make a zone in every street. Other municipalities have done a lot of work to really prohibit this. I have taken myself and Mr. Ranieri, Councilman Ranieri, you know, we've polled our council a little bit to get their opinion about it. And I think that there is some latitude that it's not as, we don't believe it's a huge problem anymore. As for the part about, is the ordinance illegal or could it be challenged? I don't doubt anything can be challenged.
Right.
But I think that it's slightly different than the child care. Child care is regulated by state statute, where they basically say that municipalities can't hold back on this. But I don't think this is a license that's granted from like the county health department, as opposed to a state law that basically says you can't prohibit these things. I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal. I actually talked to the landlord at the property, and he has not gone that far along. The applicant wouldn't really negotiate with him until they knew that it was a permitted use.
What property are you looking at?
The property was the next to the
Yeah.
smoke shop place.
Well, I told Dave Thatcher, Mayor, that he would still have to come in for a use variance, because it's not a designated permitted use in any of our commercial
Not
districts.
listed.
And you know, we always like to have people come, when it's not specifically listed, or unless we haven't given them a ruling regarding that we feel it is a permitted use, they would need a use variance.
That's our opportunity to set hours. That's our
Absolutely.
opportunity to
Yeah,
set
absolutely.
criteria and put some things in place that we would like to see.
Right. But right
And I think
now,
that's what other municipalities do. They use their planning board,
Yeah.
their zoning board,
Yeah.
to help regulate what the applicant that comes in. You know, you're right, do we necessarily, because it is a use that's not listed, we could say, well, you know, you're too close to it. Yeah, well, for some, hopefully not some arbitrary
Right.
capricious reason,
Right.
we say, we give standards and things like that. So it's really, in my opinion, it is up to the board, if this applicant were to come in.
To give you a little history of it, the problem was, there were some children in town that got tattooed at age 16 without the permission of the parents. And it was almost a big court thing. So John Warburton was
Yep.
and he's the one that wrote this. Now, people that had kids that are growing up, they knew they have to wait till at least 18 to get tattooed.
And our ordinance does specify they have to be at least 18. not
Right.
every day.
And that-
and I think
I
that's.
don't know quite how we
That seemed to
regulate
satisfy,
that.
that seemed to satisfy a lot of the ire,
Yeah.
and I mean ire of the parents.
Did they come in front of the board? Did they come from the council?
It came in front of council. It was one of them things that was behind, under the cover, not behind the scene, but hot issue.
Not issue.
And Nick, the other thing though, I don't think we could really entertain an application at this time without chapter 252 being modified. Because if we grant approval, technically it's still our ordinance that says you can't pierce the skin without a doctor's. Or somebody that's licensed medically.
Let's realize why this ordinance also exists, 252 exists also to regulate other activities that could come in.
Absolutely.
Make sure they're licensed physicians, they're doing this. Remember, we've had a couple other issues.
I tried to look it up and we ran from
We
town.
can't give a variance.
Contiguous town, and there's no comparison.
So it would have to be either amended or,
They don't have it in there.
you know, it would maybe state that this does not apply to businesses that are regulated by the state or by the county board of health. Because right now, if you came in, and we gave somebody approval, the town council could say, wait a minute, you can't open because of 252.
That's what I'm saying, that's why I wanted to
So
bring,
council's probably gotta maybe modify.
that's what I want to do
252.
tonight. I think we should make recommendations to mayor and council this evening as to how we would like it to be modified.
But do we have an applicant? Are we doing this?
No, we don't, right now, we don't have an applicant, but I think
But
they
we need to
were,
do this
Well, there's
first.
people out there.
Yeah,
yeah, there
people out
was,
there.
yeah, there were.
They've been here 6 months ago, and Mr. Thatcher had someone, and trust me, it's a very mainstream thing that's happening. If it's not today or next month, it's going to be coming in front of us, and we need to get ahead of it and be sure that we have all of our ducks in order and our T's crossed and our I's dotted, so it's that when it does come in front of us, we know what we're about to do.
Well, let me ask you this, Amy.
Yes,
Do
sir.
we really want to change it? Because then we're opening up to accepting it, and quite honestly, if you look at some of the establishments around, they do bring in some undesirables. I see it. And I can state one that I see in Belmar, drive past all the time. So,
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that a lot of municipalities have been very reluctant to make it an easy application.
right, so my point then, Nick, is like, should we change it until we're challenged to change it with an app?
That's the worst time to change it, once you're challenged.
Yeah, then you don't know if we're open up to, the borough's open up to damage.
Right.
That's a problem, that.
I'd just like to say something. I had a lunch with somebody who's a general manager of Longhorn Steakhouse, and he's the #1 in the nation. Long
Wait a
story.
minute, you went to a steakhouse, went to Mary Jo
I
now?
wasn't at a steakhouse with a meeting.
Your wife's going to
I
kill
wasn't
you.
at the steakhouse with a
He's
meeting.
a vegetarian,
The
ladies and gentlemen.
majority
So he
of
said.
just to love these large corporations, 150,000 employees across the nation. They allow tattoos. They encourage their employees to express themselves. My point is, times are changing.
Right.
Whether some of these establishments aren't so, you wouldn't want them in your backyard.
Well, that's the thing.
We can regulate some of the things.
Yeah, because they're,
But I
I
think you're
understand,
right.
they're mainstream, obviously, but there's two different kinds, there's different.
I think the days of the biker,
Yeah, there used to be the biker
It's
and,
past
I can tell you one that's not.
Well, I know up there, but again, if we could set the rules and regulations of how they operate and all, then
True.
and I think we have a good police department.
They're hours.
We have a great police department, and I think, I don't really see our community having,
Well, it's a shame that the chief is not here this
Right.
evening, because this would have been a
right,
great.
but I mean, I don't think
And
we're gonna
we
have lines of
comprehensive
bikers.
ordinance regarding tattooing and tattoo type of art. I mean, it's not like they just walk in and, even if they pass, even if the county is giving them the okay to register, we still have
6
We have
pages.
a
Yeah,
criteria.
six pages of
We have
our
a
own
criteria,
criteria.
absolutely.
Which would stand the test of, I think, any court that.
Well, let me ask you a question to the board. Can I ask this to all the members of the board?
Sure.
Those of you who've been here a long time. What do you think about the fact that because we only have limited zones in the community, we only have a commercial zone, we have, the R1, R2, R3, we don't have many zones. Are you guys comfortable that a tattoo establishment could be allowed anywhere in the commercial zone? So let me make it clear. Our commercial zone basically runs from, the Turnpike all the way to Evesham Road. It runs down Clemens Bridge, it runs down Evesham. So, I mean,
certain sections.
so we just say, if one opened up next to St. Teresa's, is everyone okay with that? Because remember, you're basically saying that, we couldn't deny for that. If they were, right, am I correct? If it's allowed in the zone, it's allowed anywhere in the zone. Now, maybe we could set standards of other things. We could do that kind of stuff,
Right.
possibly.
Or permitted in one particular zone.
But that's the other option we have now. I think I might have mentioned this before, that I know this board had done the master plan review, and it's coming up on 7 years, if you guys can believe it.
I know.
And, we have an opportunity again, to, instead of maybe jumping on this issue, maybe look at it a little differently, unless everyone says that it's okay to be in any commercial zone. Do we want to, and that's what my point was when I did my research with Gloucester Township. Gloucester Township did a lot of homework to establish different zones for different things all over like you said, it's made up of many different communities. So they have, the Glendora zone, they have the Hilltop zone, the Blackwood zone, and things like that. So, I want us to think about that, and then, and I'll put the names out there. Collingswood Borough, there was a gentleman from Runnemede who wanted to open a tattoo place in Collingswood. He was a well-known artist, and he lost a vote because it did come down to, it was considered a prohibited use. It was not listed as a allowed use in that zone on Hatton Avenue, and he was denied by the zoning board. So, we can't deny them all out, but we can regulate where they are, and I see, you know, remember, needle knives and scalpels was also done for another reason. Let's, you know, I'm an honest guy, you know, remember methadone clinics, remember those kind of things. You know, these are doors that once we open, you know, the beauty of, well, the difficulty of this board, the beauty of this board is, this board can make decisions, and they'll last forever. You know, we allow something to become something. We can never go back and say, you know what, we made a mistake. The council can say, well, we're gonna make it 40 miles an hour on Davis Road, and they get mad one day and say, you know what, it's gonna be 15, and we can change that. But we can't, once we allow establishment in, they are here, correct me if I'm wrong, in perpetuity, they can be here forever and things like that. So that's something we have to be a little cautious of.
One approach would be square footage, and off-street parking.
I don't disagree, and I think that's what Dave was saying, there's a little bit of that in this chapter, but I don't know if it gets too much on the size of the property. I mean, we do that with massage parlors in our town, which we don't have, because we make it a little onerous. We say you have to have a bathroom, you have to have a changing for both the men and women. You have, am I correct, Mr. Knight? We make it so that if someone's gonna come in, they have to hit that standard to be what we consider legitimate. So we could look at that ordinance now. We'll say this, all these ordinances go through the council, so it's not, Andy knows this, it's not this board. This board can make recommendations, which it has done. But you don't vote. Good point. But I want to hear opinions, because don't think that when this came up, I mean, John and I spoke to other members, I've spoken to members of council, I've spoken to a lot of people in other municipalities. It's interesting. I mean, I Googled tattoo parlors. Has anybody done that? Okay, go home tonight and Google tattoo parlors. Tell me where they're located.
I'm here. If you-
I tried to.
Get to the bus, get the bus.
I love paper.
But there, you know, one of the largest community, the second largest community in Camden County does not have a single tattoo parlor.
Which one's that?
What's the second largest community in Camden County?
I know it'll
Cherry
go
Hill.
in.
Doesn't have a
They
single.
don't have any of them?
Not a single one. Belmar, like I said, this ordinance came from Belmar, just to let you remember.
Oh, he was-
He was our
He was
inspector.
wearing two hats.
He was wearing two hats. Because at the time, there was a tattoo parlor in Glendora next to my office. And when Walgreens came in, they tore it down, is that correct?
That old shoemaker's shop.
And then the idea is he was gonna come over, and there was a big to-do, and you're right, I wasn't really involved back then.
What is our general consensus? It's something that we think, we can't be closed-minded,
I'd consider it,
open-minded.
depending
with,
on what regulations or what.
With regulation.
The only people calling me
I read
are
it.
the lawyers, that's.
Well, I definitely, I have a problem with methadones, as we talked about that, when the old Borough Hall was up for sale, and they wanted to bring a methadone clinic in, I think we kind of hung our hat on needles, knives, and scalpels for that sort of time, because we were afraid of what was going, unfortunately, I'm not trying to be condescending, but I think we were afraid of what was going to be coming in and out of the community, you know.
Oh, you knew what was coming in and out.
Right, so we hung our hat on that, and we skated that one, you know, many years ago, you know. But I do think that the blighting of the Black Horse Pike has just got to end. I mean, the Black Horse Pike is it's terrible. I'm just like, I go down it, and there's just so many sections of the pike that are just vacant, and there's just no life there. And you just want to breathe life into it somehow. And I'm not talking about bringing, 14 Harleys in and drugs. And I think that's a stigma. I think, in my opinion, I think that that time might have been at a certain point in time, but you might walk down the Ocean Street Boardwalk now in today's world, and you'll see more people with ink and without ink, and a lot of them are grandmoms and grandpops, and, I mean.
Are there tattoo parlors on the Ocean City Boulevard?
That I don't know. I know they probably have
I
henna.
don't think so.
They have henna
I think they
tattoos.
do.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, Ken, for like, it's not so much as the tattooing, in my opinion, but it's the loitering and the hanging out near these places, what I see.
They become club-like.
Yeah, and I see it in the middle of the day.
That's a good thought, that's a good point. I mean,
So, I mean, we may have to look at our loitering ordinance.
The borough might want to designate a particular commercial zone, or put not within 1,000 feet of a school, 500 church or something like that.
Those kind of.
So then that's when the limit where people, where maybe kids, we don't have one up on Evesham or by the high school or by Triton when they're coming out and saying, oh, I'm 18, let me go over and get my girlfriend's name put on. But,
Hours as well,
or at hours, John, you have to
Maybe
close by
midnight?
8 o'clock.
Well, I spoke to the landlord of the property, and I asked him that question. I said, had you started to talk about their hours of operation? And, I think he was not very aware of what a tattoo parlor was, understanding, well, because I close at 8 o'clock. I said, well, what if they're open until 2 in the morning? And I don't think he even understood the ramifications of it's a different establishment, right? It's not a coffee and donuts place that opens at 6 o'clock in the morning. At least I don't know.
It's no 9 to 5.
It's not 9 to 5. I'm open-minded to it, just to give you my own personal opinion. When it was brought to my attention, my vote was either way. I believe that it was okay either way with regulation. I really didn't have an opinion.
Yeah, I tried looking it up in the E360 code, and I didn't find
Yeah.
any comparison.
And I don't really have a huge problem with it, but I'm very aware of other people's concerns. I'm aware of, my other community of Gloucester Township. I'm aware that they took the time to put it in only certain zones. I'm aware of other towns that, realize that this could be a problem. Haddon Township only allows them on Route 130.
Right.
So there's things like
I
that.
think that's a lot.
So would be limited to the Black Horse Pike.
Hadn't that been litigation?
And it could have been, it absolutely could have been
I
litigation.
think that loitering becomes a whole different thing after midnight. Loitering during normal 9 to 5 hours is not a problem. Loitering at 2 o'clock in the morning is a different story. So I think that the hours will be a big deal.
Well, it's funny you say that, because loitering was an issue at Dunkin' Donuts at Triton High School, to a point where there was police officers right there. So it's an interesting, you're right, it's not even that element, it could be even just
Well,
children.
you got loud bikes, all those things, not those just bikes and all that.
We had the police department one time, if anyone remembers, you guys might remember, I think we arrested 6 12-year-olds for loitering at the water ice place. Do you remember that? What was it?
Remember that? Well, they were.
At Reedus, do you remember?
They were.
Oh, no, just loitering?
Because they were behind the building.
Yeah, they weren't hanging at Rita's, they were skateboarding where they shouldn't have been and destroying some property
I'm
and
not
stuff.
condoning it, I'm just telling you, it's a slippery slope. But I do take it seriously what Candy says about the development that needs to happen along the Black Horse Pike. And I think that is the real discussion that we're having here, is what are we going to do to help, help that pike change? And I think where it starts is, it actually starts in this planning board. I think the only way to really fix it is to, really change the use of that area. Really, do we allow expansion of commercial zone? Do we allow higher buildings? These are the kind of conversations when I think the last time we brought in a professional to come in and talk to us.
Damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect at all. There's a huge push right now for apartment complexes throughout South Jersey and the state. And small retail establishments, it's very tough. I'm in the sign business, and if anybody knows anything about businesses, 90% of all businesses close within the first 5 years. It's good for the sign business. It's not always good to get paid in the sign business, but it is what it is. But do we look at the Black Horse Pike differently? Do we look at it as more of a quasi-residential? I think this board recently allowed someone to switch their property from commercial to residential, right?
Yeah, 4 years ago.
Didn't we do that? Because the person couldn't sell it as a commercial property.
We gave a use variance.
Yeah, and we were pushing commercial, but it just didn't
Each
pan out.
particular use eventually has its own particular set of problems or complaints.
Yes.
We put apartments somewhere, whatever we do. So but the board, the governing body has the ability to really narrow where things can go and, what the requirements are. Not as far as licensing, if it's licensed by another entity, the state or,
Right.
County. The only other thing, if you do zone it for a particular area, and then you have other businesses, and then you want to regulate the time, and there's other businesses there that are open till 2 in the morning, how do you close that? So is it better to do a variance, or you could do an area, have it as a conditional use tattoo establishment? Conditional use means, yeah, you're a permitted use,
But
The
you must.
town can put conditions on it. Time, so they can't say, well, the Dunkin' Donuts next door.
Right, that's not what we can do, Dave, we talked about that already. We
Yeah.
have to be a conditional use.
Yeah, it make
Because
it,
we want-
not an absolute, just
No.
permitted.
Not a free-for-all at all.
Dave is, Dave Thatcher waiting to hear back from you? Is there
No,
a, no, this applicant is?
I spoke to him that day, I remember emailing Candy that this had come up, and, our board might want to, discuss it. No, he hasn't said anything.
And if
He
they,
didn't tell me, hey, Dave, when you find out something, get back to me.
right, and as we've done in the past, if we grant, conditional use, they can always come back to us after a year or two of successful
Absolutely.
operation and say, Mr. and Mrs. Planning Board, I've had 2 years under my belt of operation, I've had no complaints from the police department. Mr. Daly, do you agree with that? Yes, I concur. I'd like to stay open until 11 o'clock, instead of 10 o'clock, and then we can base our findings on what Mr. Daly tells us, and then we can vote accordingly. So the conditional use gives us some controls, which is what we need to do until we see how this thing works out. And if it doesn't work out, guess what?
Then you just don't renew the use.
That's it, don't renew the
But I
use.
think the borough's probably gonna have to do something with 252, excluding tattoo parlors, because the way it is now, it's not a permitted business.
Right, I think you leave 252 in place except for excluding tattoo parlors.
Yeah, you leave it in place.
You want to leave it in place.
Accepting,
You want to leave the,
We'll bring it to council, I mean, we'll have
Yeah.
a caucus coming up, and,
Yeah.
we'll go for discussion, and you
Is
know, the
everybody-
process of an ordinance, it takes 2 months.
Yeah.
What do we have to do to limit the number of tattoo parlors or limit where they are? Do we as a planning board have to do something or?
That could be by ordinance.
It could be by ordinance.
Limited to so many, it could be right in the ordinance.
we can always change the ordinance
The problem
again.
with zone is, you can't spot zone, you can't say
Auto.
here, here. We have to change zones and say C1 or C2. Am I correct on that? That we can't necessarily spot zone, but we can say, we can split our commercial zone
Oh, yeah.
up. But we can't sit there and say we allow.
But you could put that tattoo is a conditional use in one particular designated zone.
In the whole commercial zone?
It'd be the whole commercial zone with conditional use, because right now we don't have any other zones.
But then, they, if something was right next to St. Teresa's, you want to.
No,
Right, that's
you
why
put that in
I'm
the
saying-
ordinance, so they can't be
Well,
within.
yeah, but get within so many
That
feet
goes
of a
in-
church
goes in
or
the
school,
ordinance.
yeah.
And then if we want, yeah, if we want to put, and this is, and if we also want to put down that we're only going to permit 1 or permit 2, it's just the same thing as if we have car dealers in town.
Right, yeah.
There's only so many
It's limited to-
licenses
it's limited
that are
to-
available. And we can change that. We can limit it to 1 or whatever you want. And then if it's successful and it works, then we can always change the ordinance again. That's the beautiful thing about it. You give it a narrow path and you see how it transpires. And if it works, then you can always change the ordinance to, okay, we're gonna give out 2 licenses, we're gonna give out 3 licenses. You know what I mean? But I think you start small and you try to see how things work, you walk before you run, you see how it works out. And then if it doesn't work out, it's something we gotta take care of.
It's a use that you might have.
And that's what the police department's for. If there's a problem, the police department will be there and they will be there and be there and be there. If there's not a problem. And if there's enough police there, if it's a problem, we'll go away, my opinion. So it's just my opinion, but I mean, we wanted to bring it in front of the board to see what everybody else thought. And it has to go through mayor and council.
Well, can I ask the board, can I call you, and what do you guys think? You guys been around for a long time, so if you,
I'm open-minded.
you're open-minded towards it?
I'm fine with it.
As long as we can control what we want, that's fine. But tattoo parlors are much different now.
Then it was 15,
It's
20
not
years.
bikers riding around and everybody,
It makes it cost too much.
I would say certain rooms you can only
You get that one, it's good. Not being bad out. There are still some that.
I agree with you.
Bring some
Yeah,
other
but rules in there like FHA says you can't get to a
How do we
bathroom,
screen for that?
to get to a bathroom,
I agree with you, put some rules.
so you can't go through here to get there, and it has to be this.
Can I bring up another ordinance, since I got planning board here?
Are you
Is
guys,
everybody else okay?
you also okay with it?
You're
I'm
involved
open
in
here,
it.
if we're going to limit the area where we have, that have to wait till, master plan.
Yes. Yeah, that's a heavier hurdle to add uses to, or, am I right, Dave, we can only change zones through a master plan reevaluation.
So,
where we're redoing our map and the whole
so,
bit.
in other words, if we don't get an applicant prior to doing our master plan, that would be a good time to limit exactly what they're going to change the zones.
That would be the best time to do it, but that's gonna take us a long time.
Right.
You remember how long it took to do the master plan review, it was
I
a
would
year
say-
long, wasn't it? Or-
I would say standalone.
Yeah, I
Standalone.
I don't know, would that be necessary? I don't know, I'm not sure.
I think it's better if it's in a strip
I
mall,
do,
because
too.
I think
I
that
think standalone would be too late.
Right, yeah.
strips would be better, limit the.
It's all inside.
Yeah, not a bunch of parking out
And
front
there are
around
most
it.
buildings that are vacant.
Right.
There's strips.
Okay. I need to bring it up only because it's important to get opinions. It's been part of Sustainable New Jersey, if everyone realizes, is the idea that we need to promote, ways that we live, ways that we interact. And we've been approached to change our ordinance to allow a limited, our livestock ordinance to limit, to allow a limited amount of chickens in the town.
Not roosters.
Are you aware of this?
Not roosters.
Yes, I am.
A lot of
And
towns.
next comes the pot, right?
So the woman who did a presentation to our caucus last month, I guess it was, we're in the process of renewing our bronze certification. Our library, what's that?
What certification?
We were, Kathy Descendant did a great job about 3 years ago, got a certified bronze certification for sustainability. And we're trying very hard to maintain that and keep improving it. You can't just maintain it, you have to keep going forward and make the community better. And we did certain things, like if you remember, our smoking, we don't allow smoking, what are some of the other positive
All
things?
the trash receptacles.
Recycling.
You see the new ones, there's so many out there.
More likely with the parking lot next door, we'll have a plug-in for electric
That's
vehicle.
right.
We're thinking about our code enforcement to have electric vehicle.
Going green, our buildings go, our public are going solar eventually.
Yeah, those kinds of activities. So one of the ideas is, once again, the chicken limits. And the idea is many other municipalities have battled this for a good 5-6 years. And they've kind of worked it out where they realized limiting the amount of chickens, not allowing roosters, maintaining a minimum area between the area where the chickens are, the coop and the run, from neighbors.
What is that distance?
Well, in some of the other municipalities, it's only 25 feet.
From a window or door.
From the window or door. So I'm not quite sure if that works, guys, easy. And the most important aspect of the ordinance was a chicken advisory committee. And, because it would be too onerous for the code enforcement official to
Is Colonel Sanders on board with this?
to evaluate the chicken. But I know it's a tough thing, guys,
A
but
lot of our bordering towns have just recently passed this, they're allowing this to happen. There's a lot of reasons for it. You've got the fresh eggs every day. That's something we all need. We want.
You know, they were.
I'm going to continue. It's less of the footprint, less packaging. The 10 most desirable cities in the United States all allow, they have a program. It's choice. You got to have an open-minded choice. And you also have to look towards the future and consider, again, is it something that we can put any guidelines, stipulations?
Restrictions.
1 chicken, not 5 chicken, 1 chicken per household, per person, however we come up with the idea. But we also, I believe we have to have an open mind. When people come to us, and other towns are doing it successfully, we can't just say, I don't want that. We have to listen, we have to pay attention.
And let's be clear, the few municipalities that have allowed it, we're not talking about hundreds of, individuals taking advantage of the ordinance.
We're still researching.
We're talking about, I think the one community has maybe 10 homes that are taking advantage of this. In my opinion, when I first heard this, I was very skeptical because I understand why we pushed away from livestock. I do understand that because of how we live in this community. But I will say this, just recently, I was speaking to a family and their father was, just went through chemotherapy and they had chickens, that the father had something to do every day. He went out every day, he was an old Italian guy, went out and took care of the chickens and, that was his thing, they gave him something to do. And I understand that there's I have pets and I think that's where it's different now, guys. I think if you met this woman, she would make it very clear to you that she does not necessarily look at them as the way most of us look at chickens, but they become almost pet-like.
We
It's
get
very
we
interesting.
get a dozen eggs every week from my wife's friend.
And it would work, where we live, it would work, and some towns regulated the size of the
I think
property.
she's moral.
Yeah, so some of them within a larger property. The problem with that is it's a disadvantage for towns that are tighter. You know, it seems like unfair to say, okay, we have to have a minimum of a half an acre, an acre. So that's why some of these municipalities have changed their ordinance a little bit to allow it to be a little bit closer, in closer proximity. The woman was very honest that they do make noise sometimes, especially if they lay an egg, they do a little, what she called an egg dance or something like that.
Well,
She said.
this Saturday, I have a,
But I just want to get your feeling on that, Ron, if you know, I mean, once again, how does everyone feel? This is our community.
Well,
And we can look at these things.
I thought those windows are common sense between
That
these
is,
properties.
you're a realtor, has anyone ever asked you?
Not at all. Is this all back like Evergreen, Sunnybrook?
No. This would be allowed in any zone, you know, and now that might be something we would restrict. Now, the woman, she thought that wasn't fair, you know, that was discriminating because someone had a small property. But let's be honest, zones are designed for, right, we do it all the time. We regulate the amount of parking and space and things like that.
Well, reality being reality, I think we all snicker a little bit about the chickens and the livestock and whatnot, but we don't necessarily tell someone they can't have 3 dogs. And I think we all.
Yes, we do, actually.
I think
We limit the amount of dogs in the
Well,
community.
how about,
Keith, how many
Per
dogs do you
household.
have? Oh, shh.
there's no limitation.
They're supposed to be.
Okay, that being said,
No recommendation.
right, but I'm just saying, that being said, we're all snickering a little bit, myself included, but I think I'd rather have 2 chickens next door to me than 2 yippy dogs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yippy
so,
dogs
it's
are
the truth, I mean, you know, sometimes you go out in the morning, it's like, you know, I mean, I have a dog too, and my dog barks at the air, you know, he looks at the air and he just starts to bark, because he's a bird, he barks. So, I mean, we have to put it in perspective, it sounds silly because we've never allowed this before, but there is an economical benefit to it, there's an environmental benefit to it, and you know, there could be a therapeutic benefit to it, like Nick said, if someone has that, and finds it therapeutic to care for something. I think if we do limit it to maybe 2 per house, well, if you're on a 50 by 110 lot, which a lot of places are 40 by 100, 50 by 110s, we have a lot of communities that are in concert to that.
But that's separate
Yeah,
property.
so I think in that instance, you have to limit it to 1 or 2, so it doesn't annoy the next door neighbor, but I personally, on my property, I have fences that separate my property from next door's property. It's a chain link fence, and we sit over the fence and we talk to each other like this. I mean, we're close. I mean, it is, I don't have a bigger property like some people on Sunnybrook. But,
What?
you know,
Look at me.
but yeah, you know, I think it's better than dogs. You know, if you're gonna worry, what do you,
Dogs can be very different.
what's the word, what are we worried about? We're worried about noise?
Well, we want to be considerate to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the, you know, the neighborly aspect of
I
things.
mean, are they dirty? Are they dirty?
And
Do
raccoons
they-
like chicken.
It depends, once again, even dogs, it's, you know, Mr. Knight will be the first one to tell you, dogs can be even dirtier if people don't take care of them. So any animal, if you know, the owner has a responsibility, and it's the toughest thing, and I know that Mr. Knight would be probably very skeptical of all this because it's difficult. It's so difficult to regulate this stuff. But one of the things that these other communities have done is they've made it very difficult. You know, you have to basically, you know, take it to a level that, once again, you've got to buy basically a Martha Stewart coupe. You know, it has to be a phenomenal. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of.
I have to assume that there's a per chicken square
Annual,
footage.
there's an annual
Why?
fee, a licensing fee each and every year, a renewal fee as well. So people won't just get them, there's a price tag for each chicken. And there's also an application, you have to go through a program for that, and then there's a committee that will oversee
Eggs
it.
for 50.
That's the problem.
Not yet.
So it's not like you throw a chicken in the backyard, and, you know, it's still.
But you would be surprised how many chickens are even in this community right now.
You better get out there and be ready.
You know, we have some, Keith, you found some in the community?
Yes, we have.
We found them a couple times, and it's amazing. It's accidental,
So-
we find.
And
Well,
what
they
happens
used to
when
be
you
pig.
find?
Remember the pig?
Issue a notice violation, and they have to remove them from the ground.
And when we found them, we've done it, but, and usually it's complaint driven, correct? Once
Yeah.
again, it's complaint driven.
Because it's in the rear yard,
Yeah. But I do want to invite everyone, and I know this is awful. Saturday, we are having our Green Fair down at Harry Williams, and there will be a licensed therapeutic chicken at
The chicken's not licensed.
Saturday, yeah. And it's actually a very interesting event that's happening on Saturday. All sustainable issues, solar panels, farming chickens, even gardeners will be there talking about sustainable funerals and things like that. So it's a positive.
Going to be open to the public?
Yeah, absolutely.
Harry Williams.
For you though, there is a fee.
10 o'clock.
There's a charge.
No, I mean, this is going to be open to the public?
Oh, of course. Oh, you did? I didn't hear you.
Now, this would not be for a commercial.
No, not at all. I mean, Mr. Ranieri was really involved in this in the beginning, and, there's a lengthy ordinance, it's very strict. But we can look at it again. Once again, there's no reason for us to rush into anything.
How about, has anybody mentioned anything about like apiaries, like beekeeping or anything like that, or is there any ordinance?
Do you know anything about that? No?
You do not have a beekeeper come to the.
There's a beekeeper coming on Saturday.
Harry Williams.
Because that's becoming a thing too, because of the
We're gonna have one there presenting that as well this
Yeah.
weekend.
Yeah. There will be something for that.
We have to have a mind to all of it. And,
Well, we have a unique community, even though it's not a very large community, right? We have some very different areas throughout the community where different things can occur. But once again, Mr. Knight will tell you, and if you get the emails that Mr. Leary and I get from Mr. Knight, we have hundreds and hundreds of violations. And it's basically neighbors complaining about neighbors.
Sure.
Right, Dennis? I mean, you guys know this, we all know this. Neighbors against neighbors constantly.
Right here.
Battling each other.
Continuous.
And we do our best to have ordinances. Mike, I apologize, the public portion was at the beginning. This was just I was just interjecting. The public portion was at the beginning of the meeting. This was just a workshop that we were just talking about.
I'd like to talk about that.
I'll talk to you after the
I won't
meeting.
take much time.
Mike, it's not a public portion,
Is this the public?
unless they want to open it up again. Now, everyone wants to leave, but if you want to speak again about it, we're going to talk about this at the council meeting.
No, I wanted to talk about this right now. I won't be long.
It's too late.
Okay, not really, true. I mean, when you talk about dogs, I mean, I've been dogs all my life. You know, but the training of dogs is very easy because you only have to buy.
The chairman needs to.
I'm sorry.
Wait,
I wasn't
all right,
supposed to.
hang on a second. Hang on.
June, easy, June.
All right,
Easy.
Mike, what did you want to speak about, sir?
I was going to talk about the chickens and the dogs.
Okay, well, let's not be rude. I'll entertain a motion to reopen the public portion of the meeting.
Second.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Motion.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. Michael, please step up and give us, we need your
Yeah.
name, you need your name and address, please, sir.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm sorry.
Michael Simon, 572 Sherrington Lane, Runnemede, New Jersey.
Okay,
Okay. The only thing I wanted to mention, because you haven't said about dogs. I mean, dogs are basically, I used to train dogs. So they're basically easy to train because the only thing you need is to buy a collar. And what it has is like this little electric thing. And it doesn't hurt the dog. Okay, but people don't know that.
okay.
And matter of fact, the guy Tom down the street from me had this little dog, and he was having all kinds of problems, barking. I told him about it, and within 2 weeks, Tom was happy.
Excellent.
You know, but people don't know about that. Okay, chickens, I know about chickens. Uncle Joe, who is Patty, who is whatever on the board, her father, Uncle Joe, raised chickens. Chickens are the dirtiest, filthiest animals. It's not their fault. They just continue to have bowel movements. And it's constant. It goes just right through your system.
Fertilizer.
And, well, they don't fertilize. They're dirty because they step in it and they carry it. And if people want them as pets, they bring it in the house. And they do the same thing in the house. I mean, my uncle would never think of having chickens come in the house. And they learned that during the 50s when meat was hard to get. Because you can have a new crop of chickens every 7 weeks.
Wow.
So, yeah, I know, wow. And
Rabbits.
what they used to do was they would raise the chickens and they would sell the chickens. And they used to candle the eggs in those days because they didn't have the tools that they have today. So now you'd be able to sell the chickens, candle the eggs, sell the eggs, okay? And you'd be able to get meat. Then you sell the meat and get money.
That's the way life was back in the 50s, okay? Now, today's things have changed. But I gave the mayor an article out of a magazine, what McDonald's goes through. It costs them a fortune, McDonald's, just to bring a product to the market. They actually have cages that are sealed, okay? And in these cages, they raise these chickens so that all what they drop, whatever you want to call it, so that these guys, they actually have uniforms on, so that when they go in there and they're doing they do the cleaning and all, so it drops on these paper uniforms, so when they leave there, they throw them in the trash, and whenever they have to go back in the cage again, they put a complete new uniform on. This is how clean McDonald's is with their chickens, so that they can raise them, and they can see how much space they need. Believe me, look, if people want to raise chickens, that's fine. But in the community of residential, you can't do it. I worked probation, and in Camden, these people were raising chickens and had roosters, but mostly roosters for cockfighting. That's what they were raising them for.
We're not doing that, you know that.
Yeah, I'm sure, but that's what they were doing.
Mike, we're definitely gonna take a lot of look at this.
Yeah, I know. The police take a long look at it, because the chickens, if you'll really take a look at it, they cause diseases. You'll see a multitude of flies coming in. My uncle used to have to go nuts to keep it clean. And in those days, people were poor. And they would go crazy. Then you had foxes come around, because the foxes get into the hen house. That's not a joke, that's a serious thing. And you had other predators that would come around. You know, naturally, you have to have dogs. Putting in the dogs, chase the foxes, and it becomes like a big thing. Look, council, please, do what you want. I'm only here just to give you some insight.
I appreciate that very much.
But do what you want, It's not up to me. I'm not gonna raise any chickens, and I hope my neighbors don't either, but.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you for hearing me.
You're more than welcome. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
I make a motion to close the public portion. Second.
Motion by Mr. Capata, seconded by Mr. Kachowski. Public portion is closed. Do we have anything else as far as communications? Junior's not here. Okay. I have nothing. Mr. Rowan, did you have anything else?
No, nothing other than the communication I had from Mr. Thatcher, which we discussed.
Okay. All right, with that, motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Mr. Ockley, Mr. Renee, are you all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, everyone.
We're gonna